Hey everybody, this is First Warn Storm Team Chief Meteorologist Brad Panovich, and we've got to talk about some winter weather possibilities for the weekend. Hearing for the last couple days been bombarded, obviously, people with their apps or with maps showing up online, and you got to slow the roll on this because the thing is, the pattern definitely shows an interesting setup for Sunday. There are a lot of red flags for why the amounts of possible snow are probably way off, which I'll get into, but we definitely have to talk about this setup here because I do think in some parts east of the mountains on Sunday morning, we are going to see the chance for some wintry weather. Yes, some snow could fall, and it's not unheard of in March, though this is pretty late in the season, even for by March standards, for some snowfall, but we've got to start talking about it. Now, let's get into the details of this because it's really important to focus on where the system is right now and why you can't really buy full into the models just yet. Here's our system. This is where the system is right now. It's over the Pacific Ocean. And if you follow me at all and you follow modeling, you know data voids like the Atlantic and the Pacific Ocean where there aren't upper air stations, there aren't surface reports, there aren't radars, are big voids in data. So the data collected and sampled from that system is very weak compared to what it is over the continental U.S., where it's going to be sampled very well by our upper air system. So there's our system. You can kind of see the vorticity heading towards the Pacific Northwest. It moves onshore, it looks like, at least based on the GFS, sometime tomorrow morning, even into Thursday or Friday morning. So we're looking at that Thursday morning time frame, even Friday morning. So it's the Thursday to Friday time frame. So we still got ways for it to go. You watch it move down. Now look what it does. There it is. There's our piece of energy right there. It's going to dive down and move towards the southeast. So you can see it's still got a long ways to go as it moves down here to the southeast. You'll see the vorticity kind of flatten out a little bit, we call it, and then move into the southeast. And so there's our system. You could see it moving down, and it's a really flat vorticity, but that's the system by the time we wake up on Sunday morning. So what does this look like at the surface? I'm just going to show you the GFS, which has been kind of crazy. I'm going to throw up the future radar, if you will. I'm going to put on the surface pressures as well, because I just like to see where the surface low is forming. And we'll throw those up real quick. So here's our system. You can see it coming over the Rockies here. Again, this is actually late Friday night into Saturday morning. So you could see it's got a long ways to go still. It's not going to be moving on shore until probably late tomorrow into Friday. So let's watch it progress to the southeast on Saturday morning. Starts diving into the middle of the country. Starts looking like a pretty potent little winter storm. And you start seeing the winter weather problems that could be spreading out across the southeast. Now let's say this all happens, which is a big if, because remember, the system's over the Pacific. There are even problems in this scenario which aren't indicated in the model very well. You could see the rain-snow line is a pretty sharp gradient right in here with cold air just to the north. To me, one of the problems is the heart of the cold air, or the main source region, is way up here. You see this high pressure? This is high pressure here, and you can see it kind of oozing its way down to the southeast. With the source of the high way up here, that tells me that this cold air is not going to be really deep and established. This is going to be hard to really get fully in here. But you could see the snow spreading over the mountains and into areas of North Carolina. Now, again, we're talking 4 days out. Where this rain-snow line is could be up here, could be up here, could be down here. That's actually not a big error when you think about it this far out. But people, that's what you got to think about. I actually think it's probably going to be more up in this area. We'll have to watch for the potential. But that's a quick look at the GFS and how kind of crazy it is. And it's definitely more aggressive than any model. Then it blows this thing up off the coast and becomes a pretty strong low and then starts to head up the coast. But as you know, I'm a big fan of ensemble modeling. You don't look at one single run. We like to run multiple versions and smooth them out, or give what we call basically a mean. We kind of average out 20-some different runs of the GFS. So this is a look at those 20 different runs of the same model. And one thing you'll notice, I just showed you a single run, a deterministic run, which a lot of people post online. This is actually a look at the ensembles. So we're going into Saturday morning. Nothing, obviously. You can see the system approaching Saturday afternoon, going into Saturday night. This is now going to be 3 a.m. 2 a.m., excuse me, on Sunday morning. And you can see the system approaching by 8 a.m. on Sunday. Couple things to note. Look at all the different runs here. Look how many don't have much of any snow south of Interstate 40. I'm trying to find ones that are pretty aggressive. I mean, really none of these, when you look at the ensemble, show any snow in Charlotte. Maybe this one. This one right here. This probably has some snow in Charlotte. But for the most part, you could see this looks like a cold rain with that rain-snow line up towards the Virginia border. Let's go a little further out. Whoops, sorry. And you can see the system. So let's look at the mean snowfall from this. This is the mean snowfall from the model. So you can see it's pretty aggressive with that snow just north of Charlotte. And this is the ensemble mean right in here. Now, a couple things to remember about even looking at the ensemble. This up here, if you look carefully, 10-to-1 ratio, that's the liquid to snowfall ratio. That is very unlikely going to be the scenario in this case because we're likely going to have a very wet snowfall. So I would tend to err on the side of maybe 8-to-1. So that being said, that much snow is not likely. You'll probably cut those totals in half. What's more likely going to happen is you're going to see snow fall in locations along Interstate 40 North, and a lot of it's going to be evaporating on the way down. So you're not going to get that much snowfall accumulating. So let me take a look again at kind of my thinking based on just what the models are saying, is looking at the possibility of some snow north of Interstate 40. This area in green right now is kind of the spot we're watching. Could we see some snow further south falling? Possible, but I think it's going to be a cold rain. When you start looking at this area up here makes the most sense. And the Weather Prediction Center is kind of on the same thought process as I am on this. As you see, we go into Sunday morning and Sunday afternoon. You could see their 10% probabilities basically north of Interstate 40, and then late Sunday, maybe a little spoke tries to spin on the backside of the low down into the sandhills. But that's really the only area that looks to have the potential for any snow accumulating, and even that is generally only about 10%. One of the other things I look at are the upper air soundings, and I don't see a lot of people posting these because they're kind of hard to understand, but one of the things you look at here is what does the atmospheric column look like with the moisture coming in. One thing I noticed on the Buffkett soundings, while the output says snow, the sounding actually is saying rain. Because if you look carefully, there's really warm air down here below 5,000 feet. So this is likely going to fall as a cold rain. Now, if it does change to snow, it looks like the column gets cold enough, and just barely, mind you. Remember, this is the freezing line right here. It's just barely below freezing. So just a small error of 1/10 or 2/10 of a degree could change this to a cold rain. And then you see it, this is really early. This is 8, 9, 10 o'clock in the morning. And then things start to dry out, and it looks like you could see over here, this is probably drizzle. There's no ice crystals in the cloud. So there's a lot of red flags in this setup for snow south of Interstate 40. But I certainly believe we're going to have the potential for some snow on Sunday in parts of the Carolinas east of the mountains. It's certainly a possibility. I think what's most likely is you're going to see a rain-snow mix with snow falling from the sky and having a tough time accumulating on areas unless it falls really, really heavily, because the ground's going to be warm, the air temperatures are going to be really marginal, which means probably 34, 35, 33-ish, just barely above freezing in some locations. So there'll be a lot of melting as this starts to come down. I'm certainly keeping an eye on it. I will post another update later today. I'll do a Facebook Live tonight, try to answer some questions. But it's there, folks. There's certainly the possibility. Winter's revenge is definitely on the way to the Carolinas. At the very least, it is going to be a cold, raw weekend, Saturday, Sunday, into Monday. So if you thought we were going right into spring, this is exactly why we tell you, just because it's warm in some parts of the winter doesn't mean it just keeps getting warm forever. We're going to see a lot of ups and downs, and March is a crazy month. And this is a crazy pattern that we're going into this weekend.